Just 15 seconds away now, and they'll dive into the water for the final time this weekend. Weekend where the weather's changed dramatically from the first day to the second. Here we go then, stand by. It's all going to be decided in the next 20 minutes or so. Now, can someone like Johnny Brownlee get an advantage in the water here over the likes of Murray and Mola and potentially Blummenfelt as well?
He's going to try. We've seen Matt Hauser again get straight out there and get half a body length on everyone around her. I mean, he must have a cracking start. Great dive and a great first 10 strokes when he hits the top of the water. I mean, he's a powerful lad, but he must really put that power to good use with his swimming stroke.
Well, it is very nice to see, I have to say, 3 Aussies up there in this last top 10. And, you know, I think a lot of credit to Jake Birtwistle. I mean, he was not really known as a swimmer coming into this sport. He was a runner, and I think he's done a fantastic job to work so hard and continue to try and put himself at the forefront of these races. I also think it's brilliant to see Aaron Royal back there. We haven't seen, you know, a whole lot of him. Have been a little bit unwell, but you know, we've got 10 of the best left here now, and I think if Ben Canute is someone that's, like Alistair said before, really impressed me. You know, to be so diverse over a variety of distances is definitely not easy.
We're seeing here classically the guys who can swim are the first guys. So we've got Hauser there, Canute on his feet, Birtwistle hanging in behind them, and Johnny and Aaron Royal on the far right hand side of our shot, both holding each other back because they've started next to each other, and because one of them hasn't given way, they're effectively slowing each other down, but they might even out as they go around this buoy. I think Johnny would have liked to be a bit higher up than this. He's currently in 4th position, and you see the guys who, you know, might not necessarily be classed as swimmers. The guys behind them, they're all in the tough, rough water there, back in the 5th to 10th positions.
Yeah, so Hauser taking it out in front, watching number 14, Ben Canute, who's always going to be up there in the swim. Just when we had that overhead a moment ago, it seemed to me that Richard Murray was right towards the back of these 10.
Yeah, Richard Murray, Mario Moller, Christian Blummenfelt, Fabian, they were the back line of that race. We're just looking at Johnny and Aaron Royal there. I mean, normally at this point in a swim, in a 50-metre swim, you'd look at settling down into a line, energy conserving. You know, for Johnny's point of view, being on Ben Canute's feet, 3 back would be the absolute perfect position. In this kind of race, because it's so short and fast and he wants to get every advantage he possibly can, I think he'll probably look to try and move up, if only just to be level with Ben Canute, like Aaron did to him on the leg before. So yeah, Ben Canute's moving up there next to Hauser just to give him that little bit of edge. You know, that only might be half a second coming out the water, but if that half a second means you get in front of someone at the barrier, or you know, spreads it out through transition, it might all be worth it.
Just wondering what the chances are of someone like Canute, maybe Johnny, getting any kind of a very small break over Murray, Mola, Blummenfelt on the bike, because that would be absolutely key.
Well, Christian Blummenfelt's there in 5th position, straight on Johnny's feet, so he is actually in a great position, but so much can happen up this ramp and a really, really quick transition. Transitions can make up actually a fair chunk of time if you're very good and quick at it and it comes off, but it's a bit of a mythical art transition sometimes. You can practice it all you want and do terribly, and never practice it and do great. So I'm sure you find that sometimes they just click and sometimes they just don't. I
find it's that art of, you know, rushing but not rushing too much, you know, because you can, when you find you're trying to think too far ahead, you make those mistakes, and sometimes though it just doesn't play into your hands. But we've got all 10 men out.
Moller
Richard Murray.
Yeah, more haste, less speed, I guess, is the key in transition. So there's Canute. This is really taking its toll now. That steep ramp they have to go up, that's slippery and wet and runs on one side. And there you see Blummenfelt in an absolutely great position, just in front of Johnny and Aaron Royal. Then you go back to Fabian, and in behind Birtwistle, and just glimpse Richard Murray in there as well. Now, we know how aggressive Ben Canute can be on a bike. Can he get away? Even a small little break would be valuable. Well,
as you mentioned, transition's so important. Just something as small as fiddling with your helmet clip. I mean, it literally costs you places getting onto your bike, and it's one of those things, like Johnny said, sometimes it doesn't matter how much you practice that sort of thing. Some days it just doesn't ever want to work. But yeah, it's interesting whether these guys all stay together now, or whether or not somebody puts the pressure on and tries to break it up.
Hauser's taken a bit of a run at it here, and there's a 10-metre gap. And of course, it's Ben Canute chasing him down hard, and Johnny working hard to get on his wheel. It's just going to be one long line again, and it's how hard these guys are willing to push, how much they're prepared to risk around the corner to put pressure on the guys behind. Schilling, Birtwistle and Moeller are in a bit of trouble there. Not big gaps, but gaps that might become significant. This is why racing in small fields is so exciting, because, you know, we might only be seeing 10 guys, but we're seeing 10 guys in with a shot, and they've all got to swim, bike and run, which is fantastic. It's what we want to see in triathlon.
And just a small little thing like Schilling there, like making that break. I mean, he obviously wasn't quite on the wheel, but something as small as just taking the time to put his feet in his shoes there, not an ideal time, and essentially that cost people like Moeller, who are behind him, you know, without even knowing it, and that elastic band is easily broken as from something as simple as that.
Yeah, Moeller certainly not where he wants to be, right at the back of this group of 10, as we look at Ben Canute currently sitting in second place behind Hauser.
There's definitely a bit more urgency to this bike than we've seen. I think Hauser's taken it out pretty hard. Those corners look just a little bit, those two last corners looked a little bit more hairy to me than we've seen. So I think Hauser's just just about taking a little bit more risk than he's been willing to do so far. And he's got Canute on his wheel, followed by Johnny Brownlee and Blummenfelt in fourth, Murray in fifth. You know, they're the three that we're really watching for the overall now in perfect positions.
Yeah, Murray had a really good transition, didn't he? Way better than Mario Moeller.
And that shows the importance of it right there, doesn't it? Murray's actually trying to move past Blummenfelt there. He's realised that, and he hasn't managed to, but he's realised that he doesn't like Blummenfelt's cornering. It's making him having to work harder out of every corner and try to move up. But absolutely, Murray and Moeller came out the swim next to each other, and Moeller is off the back and is probably out of contention for this race if it keeps going hard, and Murray's right in the perfect position.
Well, yeah, we saw Mario Moeller defend and retain his world title just a week ago, but things not going too well for the Spaniard today, Vicky.
No, Mario is showing the signs all over his face of not being comfortable, not being where he wants to be. We've not seen him have an easy ride in any of the other two races today either. He's had to really work to get back into the races after poor swims on both the first two rounds.
Just as you were speaking, Vicky, sorry to cut you off, but Andreas Schilling's just spun off and into the barrier. I think he's okay. Whether his bike is or not is another matter. He's got to get that chain back on. Fortunately, no serious damage.
Getting a chain on is so easy normally, but under race conditions it's the hardest thing to do in the world, so I do not envy him at all.
Yet another victim of this roundabout.
Yeah, I think he did nothing wrong there. I think he just slid, his back wheel slid. He was going around the corner and that was that.
Tell you what, good reactions from that marshal.
Yeah.
Had to jump pretty quickly, otherwise he might have suffered.
Well, talking to Ryan Fisher, he said exactly the same thing. Sorry, not Fisher, Bailey, and you know, same roundabout, and just it's just racing, it's just wet out there, and there's just some things that you can't control. But again, I can imagine it's a bit like transition, you know, rushing to put a chain on that's something's typically so easy.
Yeah, Ben Canute, I think he's spent the vast majority of all these three races today on the front, really pushing it hard. He knows maximising his strength. That's what you've got to do in triathlon, especially these races. He knows that his running isn't as good as some of the guys behind him, and he's got the only option he's got is to ride hard. And he's hoping to do one of two things. Hopefully, obviously, tiring the competition out and preferably getting a gap. I think he's going to struggle to get a gap on any of those 6 guys behind him. They're all pretty proficient bike riders, and if they haven't been gapped yet, they're probably not going to be. But even just by tiring them out, he doesn't know. He might just get one more place.
Well, the leading protagonists all up the front. Johnny Brownlee, Murray is there. Christian Blummenfelt as well. We're about halfway through this 5,000-metre bike course on what is the final stage of the Super League Triathlon Eliminator in what's now a very, very damp Jersey. Let's hope we get no more, well, plenty more thrills, not so many more spills in the last 2,000 metres of this bike.
Yeah, Blummenfelt for the first time, I think, is at the front of the bike race. I don't think we've seen that yet so far today, so he's managed to get himself to the right place at the right time, to be fair to him. And yeah, about halfway through this bike now, absolutely fantastic. He doesn't want to drop too far back in that group because it's going to cost him on the run.
Richard Murray, we know, is a magnificent runner. Blummenfelt, likewise, and he's so gutsy. We know how well Johnny Brownlee can run. So those three, assuming there are no more mishaps until they get off the bike, you would imagine they have it between them, because even if Mario does get on terms. He's too far back probably on the overall points tally to be a feature.
You're seeing this group of 6 or 7, because it's 6 or 7 guys riding quite well. The guys at the back aren't having to sprint back on, and that's because A, there's only 6 or 7 of them, but B, they're all pretty good riders, so they're managing to stay on the wheel. They're staying within probably half a metre to a metre of the wheel in front of them when they're going around the corner. Whereas guys who aren't as good, if one person loses 1 or 2 metres and the next person loses 2 or 3 metres, before you know it, that gap is 20, 30 metres, 5 or 6 people back, and that's an absolute killer.
Well, you saw, as we just put that on the screen, Mario Mola's 10 seconds off the pace right at the back. So an awful lot of work to do from there if he's going to get any kind of serious points from this position.
Well, Christian Blummenfelt having a word there to Johnny, just telling him to come through and, you know, keep the pressure on, and you know, probably a pretty good wheel to be following as well. So you can see that Jake's just, you know, he's been trying to get back up on, but it certainly appears that these athletes are well away and just riding extremely well. You know, as you said, they're all fantastic riders and all very confident in these conditions, and it's just paying off for them.
Yeah, to be honest, if I was Johnny there's not a lot of point in pushing this on now. Blummenfelt and Murray are both in that pack. They're both riding well. They're both riding on the wheels. Him being on the front and pushing it around corners isn't really gaining him a lot. I think he should be starting to think how exactly he's going to beat them. He wants to stay near the front for sure, but actually just riding hard on the front, I'm not sure how much damage he's doing to those other guys.
Maybe Christian has some idea he wants to break away with it. Who knows?
I don't think it's going to happen.
No, I don't think so either, but he seems like he's up for anything, so
yeah, I don't think Richard Murray will let it happen for one thing, but we're going to find out soon enough.
And at this point in the race, you've got to start making the calculations. 1 lap, 1.1k to go. Even if you do start to split it, the maximum kind of gap you're going to get is 5 seconds. Might be very, very important, but you know, is the effort you're going to expend getting there worth it?
So there is the bell. 1,000 metres to go on the bike. Blummenfelt back at the front of affairs from Johnny Brownlee. Richard Murray right on the premises as well. A man with the title to defend from Hamilton Island back in March, where the conditions were somewhat different to those they've experienced today.
All having a good look at the big screen as they go past, just to make sure that they're, you know, that they've covered all bases. They have made a very clear break, and yeah, it's just to see someone like Jake, you know, riding on his own. Mario Mola riding completely on his own.
Yeah, and Fabian just seesawing off the back of that group for pretty much the whole race. He's had a hard ride, so I'm not expecting an awful lot from him on the run. Well, like we saw in his interview at the end of the last one, he said he was very tired to make it through. So I think he's going to be happy to be there, and he's had a really tough ride here. So this run isn't going to be much fun for him. Yeah,
Mola had a bad swim, a poor transition, and a combination of those two factors add up to serious trouble. No trouble so far for that man, Christian Blummenfelt, at the head of affairs on the final lap of the bike, pursued by Johnny Brownlee. Richard Murray not far away.
Yeah, there's just a bit of a gap there back to Ben Canute in 5th place and taking Murray back a little bit with him, but it looks like they've closed it off. And I really don't think they've got much choice. They can't really move up when it's this fast and this technical. You can't move up too much, and you waste a lot of energy doing it. So they've just got to make sure they're at the front and nail the transition, nail getting the shoes off. If you did a really good job at that, you might just be able to get round someone in the last few metres. Johnny's decided to do it relatively late there, and Blummenfelt's already off, look, and his shoes are off, and good job. So this transition now is going to be absolutely crucial. Yeah, it will indeed. I don't think anyone incurred a time penalty. We're all off the bike before the line. We're watching Brownlee look to be... Yeah, Blummenfelt's out first. Okay. I think Johnny's pretty clean. Matt Hauser there and Murray. Oh, Murray got a knock there from Ben Canute. Yeah. I think we can expect for Blummenfelt to take this out hard. Putting a visor on for a 2K run there, Richard Murray, you have to question whether the second or 2 seconds, you know, whatever that cost you, is it worth it over this distance? I interesting conversation. It's just habit, isn't it? It's almost an automatic thing that he does. Same with Mario, I reckon. We'll see if Mario puts his visor on behind, but it's Blummenfelt who leads from Brownlee and Hauser. And Murray just had that completely accidental knock with Ben Canute, which just knocked him off balance momentarily. Yeah, I think we're seeing Blummenfelt take this out absolutely max. You know, he's running as hard as he can and keeps looking over his shoulder. I know it doesn't mean an awful lot in his case, but his face looks strained. And we're seeing Johnny in the perfect position there on his shoulder. Matt Hauser just a little bit back and Richard Murray just back off him. I think Richard Murray will be trying to get there. He'll be trying to get there, you know, not over the first few hundred metres and really burn all his matches in one go.
And just to give you the maths of the situation, obviously if Christian Blummenfelt wins this race, he wins the overall round. If Johnny Brownlee wins the race, he needs Richard Murray to come second, Blummenfelt third, and then he would win it, and Murray needs to win it to guarantee he would win the round. So it can get a little bit complicated, but at the moment Murray is not in the picture. We've got a Blummenfelt-Brownlee battle, and then there's a gap back to the next person.
Yeah, so to be honest, if Blummenfelt comes second, he's won the overall,
yes,
hasn't he? So this is a perfect position for him. Murray's out the way. Actually, kind of in lots of ways, he's racing Murray. And looks like he's starting to put Johnny under a bit of pressure there as well, to be honest. He's just gone out so hard, and he runs so hard around the corners as well. Murray would be there if he possibly could be. He's struggling. I
was going to say, we saw that he's very good at this sort of short stuff, but also technically around corners, roundabouts, he's very smooth, and there's certainly an art to running in tight situations on courses like this too. And I think Murray is certainly not choosing to be there. I mean, you can see the effort that Christian is putting out, and yeah, essentially maybe he's just more or less trying to put that distance into Murray more so than Johnny. But it really appears that Johnny is actually also really trying hard to stick with him.
Yeah, Blummenfelt seems to really push it on the downhill. On the downhill into the roundabout, you could see he was right on the back of the camera motorbike, and that does make a little bit of difference. I've done some training sessions with Johnny where one of us has been on the back of a bike and the person behind him really starts to struggle. But that gap's definitely opened up between Johnny and Blummenfelt. Blummenfelt's just gone for it.
It has, and to the naked eye, it appears as though the gap between Johnny and Murray might be closing a little bit. Just to reiterate, if they finish in the positions as they are now, with Brownlee second and Murray third, it would mean that Johnny Brownlee would take second overall because of a better finishing position in the eliminator. But still 1,000 metres to go. Blummenfelt, you've just got to love the way the guy races. Yeah, he's so competitive and so strong.
Absolutely, he's been on the limit from the first stride of this run, and if you compare him to look at Johnny's face and Richard's face, who don't look, I mean, they might be pushing themselves as hard as they can, but they don't look like they're going through anything even near to what Christian Blummenfelt's going through. So yeah, absolutely, I love to see people race as hard as they can. He trains hard, he races hard, and it's just brilliant to see.
And he's about 800 metres away, potentially, from getting the reward for it. Johnny Brownlee with Richard Murray just seems to be closing a little bit on Johnny, and then Hauser just in behind the South African.
Yeah, I think Richard Murray will run a sensible race here. He'll have Johnny in his sights, but he's still got Hauser behind him. He'll see what he can do over the best part of the next kilometre to get back on terms with him. The kilometre's still quite a long way in running terms, you know, if we think about it in any type of running race. So yeah, there's still quite a long way to go. That said, I think Christian Blummenfelt's away here. I can't see him being caught.
I mean, Richard certainly appears like he's working his way into his own rhythm. You sort of see his face, his eyes, but I really don't think, well, there's no chance I see of him catching Blummenfelt unless he falls over. And yeah, he has his eyes set on Brownlee, but I don't even know if he can do that as well. I mean, fantastic over these distances, but I tell you, the pace in these conditions are certainly exceptional.
It's absolutely ferocious, isn't it? And it's Christian Blummenfelt who's running away from the field here. Johnny Brownlee with a little look behind just to see how close Richard Murray is. Obviously wants to hang on to second. Blummenfelt's just going at it. Right
on the back of a camera bike here. There must be a metre there. You know, he's without a doubt, we can see from the helicopter shot, getting a draft advantage from that. It's part of the race. There's nowhere else he can go, to be fair to him. It's a narrow course, so it's not a criticism. But yeah, he's still pushing, and that's providing a perfect pacer for him effectively. His turnover is just incredible.
I was just going to say, his leg turnover is unbelievable. He really does. He has run this 2K from the moment he racked his bike, I think, at the same speed. It's just truly amazing.
I mean, you wouldn't say he was a classical runner, but it's determination, it's sheer bloody mindedness, it's extreme fitness, and just a willingness to not accept defeat. Johnny Brownlee doing well so far to hold off Richard Murray, who's trying to pressurise him for second.
He's on a slight downhill here. He really needs to make the most of these downhills to, you know, really try and get those legs going and get the momentum behind him using gravity rather than his own energy. And yeah, with 400 or 500 metres to go, you've just got to give it your all at this point.
Well, being roared on by the locals here in Jersey, who, to be fair, are giving Blummenfelt a great ovation as well, and so they should. It's been a phenomenal performance from Christian Blummenfelt. I don't think he's looked behind him once, and he hasn't had to.
Yeah, no, this has been a great one from him. He just took it out from the start, and good on him. Really, really took it out, and you can see, I mean, he even looks a bit more comfortable now, just although he still looks like a man possessed. This race for second and third is interesting, though. Johnny is not at all clear of Richard Murray. Richard Murray has got a good finish on him. Blummenfelt can enjoy the crowd.
He can. He's absolutely milking it. Brownlee trying to stay ahead of Murray, but Christian Blummenfelt, the pride of Norway, there's the smile. What a stunning display it's been. He's going to win this with maximum points. He's the Super League Triathlon champion from Jersey. Brilliant. And Johnny Brownlee holds off Murray, and that'll get him second in the Eliminator and also second overall. The South African finishes third.
Yeah, fantastic racing on that last run, all to play for. Hauser was in a great position and did a really good job. Seeing Burt Whistle coming in, he must have run really well because he's off the back of those guys, wasn't he? So good on him. Aaron Royal and Ben Canoe, they've had great races, great triathlons, you know, by swimming well, biking well, and putting themselves in the right position to still have a good overall result, even if their runs aren't at the best.
Ben Canoe, who made his presence felt today in the Eliminator. Mario Mola, well, it all went wrong for him in the swim, really, on that this final stage. And then he had the issues in transition. But Christian Blummenfelt, the man of the moment.
I love to see that as well, you know. You look at some of these other guys and they're just walking straight through with, you know, fairly relaxed faces. And Christian Blummenfelt's won the race and won quite easy, and he can't move. Like, he's pushed himself through so much. He can hardly, you know, brilliancy. That's exactly how everyone should be at the end of a race like this, especially if you've been beaten, not the guy who's won. If you've been beaten, you know, you should be like that because you should be trying to catch the person up in front of you.
Yeah, and he is like that after literally every single race.
Yeah, brilliant to see.
Might have to give it a few minutes before he talks to Emma or Vicky, I think. Johnny's all smiles. I think he'll be pretty satisfied with second overall. I know you always want to come first when your surname's Brownlee, but he's done pretty well this weekend.
Yeah, I think he's done well. He's had a really, really tough year, and you know, I've said to him a few times, by the time you've had a career that's the best part of 10 years, you're just going to have dodgy seasons. And considering he's had a very dodgy season by his standards, it hasn't been too bad. A World Series win, second now in Super League, another podium at World Series. But yeah, he won't be happy with that at all. He's had a injury and illness-ridden season and a very, very disrupted winter. And I think he's looking forward to getting back into winter's training now. He's had a decent race under his belt. All
right, well, let's see if Christian Blummenfelt has recovered sufficiently to talk to us. He's down with Emma.
Christian Blummenfelt, there is no denying you did not leave anything out there.
No, that was great. I felt so tired after yesterday. Didn't really sleep that well tonight, so I was kind of a bit nervous before the race because I wasn't sure how the legs would respond. So yeah, super pleased with the way it turns out.
There was certainly no showing any tiredness. I mean, you seem to love to race and you seem to love to put everything out there. Was that just the intention today? You said you didn't sleep well, but it doesn't seem to matter.
Yeah, I tried to play a little bit safe in the beginning and just make it inside those top 15 and top 10, but you know, it's just so hard to hold back when you're like racing. So yeah.
You are one of the most aggressive racers we've seen. It's fantastic to see you put so much out there, and you obviously love this format of Super League.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it's been a great weekend and I've absolutely been enjoying every day here. So
well, if there's anyone who can say they've had a great weekend, it's you. You are our champion and it's so fantastic to have you.
Thank you so much.